If businesses want to attract and retain customers, then they must get their customers to like and trust them. Now, there are two ways to do this. First is speak like them, be relatable, and secondly, to be authentic and real. Now, if businesses, especially those in the finance industry, understood this, how come that so many of them still speak to their customers in such a formal way, especially with written communication? Now, I'm always looking for solutions to issues with customer engagement. And a couple of years ago, I came across the Monzo Tone of Voice Guide, and I could not put it any better than they have. So I'm going to explain to you how they have chosen to speak to their customers, because I completely agree with their approach. So what they have done is that they've written a list of words, to give you an example, of formal speak that a lot of other finance organisations will use, and they've replaced those words with much more relatable ones. So to give you some examples, where a formal business would say commence, they say start. They replace assistance with help, enable with let, obtain with get, provide becomes give, request becomes ask, require becomes need, and therefore becomes so. Now, I'm going to give you a couple of examples of the same message, one with a formal speak and the second one using the Monzo speak, the more relatable way of engaging customers. So the first one: please ensure that you obtain all the required information in order to commence your account transactions. Should you require any further assistance, please do not hesitate to contact us. Now, here's exactly the same message written in a much more relatable way. Just make sure you get all the information needed to start your account transactions. If you need any help at all, just get in touch. Now, can you feel the difference between the two? So if you work within a business or you run a business that uses the formal speak, it's really important that you learn to start to speak in a much more natural way. Not only will your customers like and trust you a lot more and therefore stick with you, but also they're more likely to behave in a way that works in a much more aligned way with the business. So if you need them to give you information, if you need them to contact you or act in a particular way, if you speak to them in a much more relatable way, they're much more likely to comply with the need of both themselves and the business. Whereas if you're more formal, they're much less likely to do that. Trust me, in the 21st century, it's really, really important that you speak to your customers in a much more relatable way. So drop your formal. Really important.